bed, brother. First call of the night. Thanks. And I'm sorry about your leg. I'll listen. I hope you're feeling better. And Bart, if you keep that little pit bull and keep him in the head, exactly. But she bites too. I'm just going to tell you that. If they kick, they bite. Bye, buddy. We'll catch you guys later. Bye. I told him, I said, I'm late. I said, I'm late for Maggie.
But you can use that. You can use that when you travel. That's something that you actually use when you travel.
That's why she asked. That's why Maggie, that's why Alyssa asked, what is our, what's the chairman of the alternative? Yeah, we want.
And that's what we train all of that.
Yeah, that's
Anything is fun, anything.
Yeah. And Barbara, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we do. Well, it's all, if anybody's, everybody's trying to do now, you know, people, I'm surprised you didn't.
She knows. I told her on the phone. I said, I was part of the party. Every day. I said, now, would that have made a difference? That made a difference.
Yes.
It would have made a difference. Now, would it have gotten me never party this weekend? Maybe not, but we won't know for sure. So,
All right, so I talked to Rachel, I know what's going on. She said it's not 911.
Okay,
She
good.
was just gonna do some other stuff.
Excellent.
In the meantime.
Very good.
I'm not even gonna call Tom girls and let them know. If they email us saying it's down, then, we'll let them tell us. That way we're not making more problems.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. We don't have to do anything till we've got a gun to the head, right?
Exactly. So,
And that's not a 911. They could get away with that.
because I can renew it. I just need to generate a new CSR, renew it, and then reinstall it. That's all that.
and, there's a,
They have bigger. That's 15. They have 17. Like that, $40. They have one problem.
Lunch is ready to be served, guys. Hungry, hungry.
That clicker doesn't work. She shares the screen. You know, as soon as she shares the screen, it's a.
Gotcha,
Isn't
gotcha,
that-
gotcha,
that's
gotcha.
my story of my life.
So,
Thank you.
all right. So if I just start talking, are we on?
Yes. Good to go.
Do I need to be in front of a camera somewhere?
The camera's right there, so
Can you see me?
Let me take a look and see. Yep.
Welcome everyone who's here in the room with us and braved the snow to get here. Thank you so much for being here. And for everyone that has been able to join us by Zoom. If you know, the pandemic taught us anything, it was to be flexible and responsive. And so we made it a hybrid event at the last minute. So thank you so much for joining us in either way that you can. We are recording the session today. So for our members that were not able to participate either way, we'll be able to share this important cybersecurity information that Rick and Ben are going to be presenting in just a moment. Before we get started, I do just want to take a moment to thank you all for being here, but to also thank the members of our board of directors and our board of trustees. And I know we have a couple of board members in the room. If you don't mind, will you stand so that I can recognize you for being present with us today? Jason Gent with Graybar and Leland Gutierrez with Frontier Control. Do we have any of our board of trustee members in the room with us? I think we might have a couple of people that are serving on our board of trustees that oversee the apprenticeship and training program online. So thank you for participating and engaging with us. I also want to introduce a couple of committee chairs that we have here in the room. Our committees really are what drives the engagement and volunteerism among all the work that we do at IEC. Leland Gutierrez chairs our Workforce Empowerment Committee. Alan Matsuo chairs our Membership Committee. And David Jones chairs our Events Committee. Pete Aiden is our committee chair for he's our Finance Committee chair and treasurer of the board. And David Scott, who I know is on the road today, chairs our Government Relations Committee. And Corey, who is our Emerging Leaders Committee chair right now? Brenda McGee with McGee Electric, a former board member, and she's serving as our committee chair. We invite you to participate in those committees, check them out. If you're interested in trying on what it's like to serve on one of those committees, we invite you at any time to participate. You can find the list of meetings and the links on our website, or call any of the team members and we can give you those dates. But try a couple of them out, see what you think fits best for you, and engage with us through that committee structure. I also want to thank the IECRM staff. So if you are a team member, please stand. And I won't make you go around the room and do introductions, but I will call on each of you. We have two new members of the IECRM team, Mike Davis, who's working on our compliance team, and Elena Keener, who is working with Corey in HR and handling payroll and finance now. So welcome to both of you. This is their first member lunch. Terry Reynolds is our compliance manager. So Mike is working with Terry on the Office of Registered Apprenticeship and other compliance reporting that we do here. John Cheslock is our front-facing, on the phone and in the building. If you come in or call, John is likely to be your first point of interaction. And we thank John for all that he does in working with our members and our partners and our students as they come in every day for class. Grant Davis. Grant is one of our emerging leaders and is our communication coordinator and works with me on policy and advocacy issues, which are very engaged right now with the legislative session. Katie Shobe is our marketing and communications manager. Katie, thank you. Katie's going around taking pictures right now of those of us in the room, but we really appreciate all that Katie does in helping to do our outreach and communication. Lexi Wright is our event coordinator. Lexi helped put together this lunch today and is helping to work put the GC forum together for next week. I know we've had just a fantastic sign up and registration for the GC forum coming up next week. So Lexi, thank you for everything you do. Misty Overbeck is a member of our training team. She works directly with our instructors and with our students. All of those trains on the track. Misty, thank you so much for all that you do. Corey Haymans is our CFO and runs our Emerging Leaders Committee. Most of you have had an opportunity to speak with or work with Corey over the years. And Jordan Brinken is our Education and Workforce Development Coordinator. Jordan joined us over the last year and has really done an outstanding job of reaching out to our high school community, handling our career fairs and building relationships among those that are potential candidates for apprenticeship in the electrical industry. So did I get everybody? Holly Andrews standing to my right, and that's so funny because she really is my right arm. Holly is our office manager and set up the Zoom today. I'm sure with the help of the rest of the team, but most of you have had an opportunity if you are a member or a partner also to look at all that Holly does for us, keeping us moving on our mission goals. Let's see.
Marilyn,
thanks to the
Annette
board.
Gauna is managing the back end of Zoom right
Oh,
now.
awesome. So Annette Gauna is on Zoom, and Paul Lingo is at our apprenticeship, not apprenticeship, is at our authorities handling jurisdiction, managing jurisdiction, the inspector meeting that we do monthly. And if you're not familiar with our monthly meeting, we bring state and local inspectors together with our members, and Gray Bar is our monthly host. Everyone meets at Gray Bar, and it's an opportunity to have dialogue about code interpretation, questions among the inspectors, questions that members might have. Even some of our manufacturers and distributors sometimes will attend those meetings for code clarifications. So if you're not familiar with those, there's also a link on the website that lets you sign up to attend those monthly luncheons if you're interested in working with our authorities handling jurisdiction. And a special thank you to our platinum partners. These are the highest level of industry level partnership that we have in our organization, bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. And we just really want to make a special acknowledgement during our lunch meetings and other things for our platinum partners, all the work that they do support us, along with all of our industry partners. So I think if you're not connected with us yet on social media, please do so. These are all the different ways that you will find us on social media. Share, like, tag us when you're active on social media, and we'll continue to grow this community in the electrical industry. A couple of events that I want to point out are that we have the GC Forum next week, which is at capacity. We're keeping a wait list, so if you are interested in attending the GC Forum at Satire Brewing, we will do our best to make space available, but that was very popular. The other thing coming up is that the Summit Awards are open for nominations. We give out project awards as well as individual recognition. It is a great way for you as a team to recognize your employees for the projects that they work on or for their individual accomplishments. The deadline for the Summit Awards nominations is March 13th, and we have some flyers and information to share with you about the upcoming events as well as the Summit Award nominations. Summit Awards themselves will be held on Thursday, April the 20th at Empower Field. Yes, we're moving to Mile High for our Summit Awards celebration this year. So whether you submit a nomination or not, we encourage you to come be part of that celebration. We're going to be doing some special activities that night that you'll hear about as we communicate the event along the way. And then May 5th is our annual wire-off competition and skills challenge. So 40 of our apprentices, 10 from each of the years, will be competing in a skills challenge. And we always want to encourage people to come and watch them compete and be here when they receive the recognition for how well they've done during the day. And so as a way to encourage everyone, not only is it May 5th, Wire Off and Cinco de Mayo, but we are doing a cruise-in car show. Rick, I don't know if you can show up with your airplane that day, but you might have, another cool vehicle in your garage. But we encourage all of you that have classic cars, hot rods, collectibles, a project car, something you're meaning to work on, as long as it, you can trailer it in if you need to. But we really do want to showcase the interest that our electricians have outside of the industry. And I know you all have project cars and special vehicles, and we want to really showcase those and have you share them with each other, as well as be here to honor the Wire Off competitors. So that's my presentation. I'm going to turn it over now to Rick Race and Ben Race with IECRM. They are our IT provider and work with a number of nonprofit organizations, associations, and
private sector clients like yourselves. He has some really important things to share about local and federal cybersecurity threats, which we've all seen and read about, and we hope they don't happen to us. Rick, thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you very much. Again, I'm Rick Race, and my son and Chief Network Engineer Ben is with me today. I probably pick up on the Texas accent, so I apologize if it's hard to understand, but I'll work with that. First of all, we love working with IEC. I don't think of any of all the folks that we work with. We have people that are as engaged and as compassionate and just sincere. We really enjoy working around these folks, just amazing people, big hearts, bigger than Texas, actually. So thank you for the opportunity to allow us to be here. And thank you for your time out in this crazy weather. So I'm going to get over to the screen here because I'm going to be working from the podium. I normally talk with my hands and my mouth because they typically generate my energy. So if I pass out and fall over, because I'm not using my hands enough, okay? So just, pick me up and just kind of wave my arms around, and I'll come right back to it. So I'm going to get the presentation going here, and then we'll get moving. Of course, it has to pick today to do this, right? All right, so. Okay, there we go. And as Marilyn alluded to, we're going to be talking about cybersecurity. If when all this is done, you think I'm here to scare you, you're right, because you need to be. I've been in this industry for a long time, and I can honestly tell you that the most challenging times, I think, are now for all of us, and even us. Because we've got laws that have changed, and we'll talk about those later. But a little bit about us. IECRM, we're a 41-year-old IT services company with offices in Texas and Colorado. We provide a host of managed and co-managed services for companies like yours, and we're your cybersecurity authority. We've been spending a lot of years getting educated and understanding and creating the tools that we need to protect all of our data. And IEC has been one of our clients here for many years, and we've worked in the IEC organization for over 30 years. So we've been around a while when it comes to IEC. So we understand what your challenges are as general contractors, electrical contractors. We work also in other industries in construction trades and so forth. But times have changed, folks. It's a new year and a great time for new beginnings. And there's no better time to take part in a good hard look at upping your security game. If your organization has been relying on security through obscurity, in other words, we're too small or too unimportant for hackers to bother, we are living on borrowed time. Industry experts are predicting that 2023 will bring new and more sophisticated hacks and attacks, more dangerous forms of malware, and the growth of hacktivism. We'll talk about that as well, and a surge of cyber threats. You're not too small to be compromised. You're just too small to make the news when companies your size get compromised. It's got to be the big food providers. It's got to be T-Mobile. It's got to be the IRS. It's got to be Experian, Equifax, you name them. And these are folks that spend tens of millions of dollars on their cybersecurity and their network security, and still they're compromised. So that's the bad news. The good news is that your security strategy or lack thereof doesn't have to stay that way forever. You can change that starting today. Both individuals and entities tend to be resistant to change, even when it's sorely needed, maybe especially when it's sorely needed. Companies tend to focus on their data and the numbers and take for granted that their network is safe because nothing has happened to it yet. And again, it's a sense of complacency and other false securities that are out there. If you own a small to mid-sized organization that's been around for a few decades, it's likely that the security wasn't baked into your overall recipe for your company, right? So, and there's a problem with that. If you have firewalls, good antivirus, and anti-malware solutions, that's good. That's a good beginning. but it's only the first step towards protecting your network and systems, and thus your real assets, your intellectual property, your company financial data, employee and customer personal data from the bad guys. So how many of us use cell phones and mobile phones, laptops, and other things of this nature in our business? We all do, right? We have to, because we travel, we're on the road every day. Your cell phone, laptop, and any mobile device that has internet connectivity is an open door to your personal and customer data and other property, intellectual property, and so forth. And the reason why that is because they're not on the same network that's protected like your in-house computers are. So we'd probably all say that, and would agree that any device outside the walls of your organization or your house, if you will, is exponentially more susceptible to being compromised because they're not as protected like the internal company network is. Perfect example today, your car would be a lot warmer and a lot prettier if it's in the garage when it's protected, but it's outside and it's in this nasty weather, and this nastiness is extended to that. You're probably aware that there are weaknesses in your security implementation and that they're ripe for exploitation. But if it grew that way, you know, as time progressed, rebuilding a security program means upsetting some apple carts. You know, first of all, it's a daunting task. You have to get executive buy-in. You got to find the funding, which is not easy in an inflationary environment. You have to get the assessment. You have to provide planning, testing, and on and on and on. Just thinking about all that is enough to make you want to keep crossing your fingers and hope that luck is going to hold out for you, but it won't. I can promise you that. And the most prolific thing I can say about anything when it comes to security is don't let tragedy define purpose, because when tragedy shows up, I can promise you this, you'll realize the things you didn't realize when you had the opportunity. And that's with anything pretty much in life. I should have addressed this before it became a life-threatening problem for my business. And we'll talk about why that is such. And I just never thought it would happen to us. There are those that have been hacked and compromised and those that will be. It's no longer those that won't. I can put you in a bulletproof scenario until somebody makes a better bullet. And there's no 100%, I can protect you 100%. And anybody that tells you that's lying to you, because it's just not possible. Cyber attackers are increasingly targeting small to mid-sized businesses because you can't afford to pour as much money into the security as a large enterprise can or does. Criminals see your company as a low-hanging fruit. So according to some statistics, almost half, 46% of the breaches impacting small businesses in 2021 and 2022, and over 60% of small businesses experienced attacks. Do you think your company doesn't have the money to upgrade the security? I can assure you that an attack will likely cost you way more. According to the National Cybersecurity Alliance, as many as 60% of small businesses go out of business following a cyber attack. We'll talk about that as well. The average cybersecurity insurance claim costs for a small to medium-sized business or enterprise to recover from something like this is around $345,000. You think, well, all I got to do is restore a backup or do this or do that, and I'm back up. It's not that simple. We'll talk about that as well. Don't let cyber insurance be a false sense of security for you either. You think, okay, I've got it. I get hacked. I'm going to get my money back, or I'm going to get the money that's going to pay for all this. But I can assure you the average total claim payout for a cybersecurity claim is about 28 to 40%, not 100% that you may think you're going to get back if you get compromised. We know how insurance companies are, and what they'll do is to find someone else responsible. And now that includes the managed service provider. You're looking at him. So now the laws have changed in Colorado and Texas and in many other states, but Colorado is one of the most stringent states. Their laws are the most stringent in the United States. And why Colorado? With the size of the population here, I couldn't tell you, but it's obvious with Texas and other states that have far more businesses, far more population. I can understand that, but it's nowadays in 2022, January 1st, 2022, the laws changed for you guys where you've got to be good stewards of your data So if you collect financial information, social security information, personal data, that if it got compromised, could cost those people money, could cost you money, it'll take you down. In 2023, January 1st, laws changed for additional laws came into place for you guys, and then laws changed for us. So now if we come in and we say, okay, we're here to protect you, we've got a regular monthly scheduled service agreement with you guys to protect you from the bad guys, and you get compromised, then the cyber insurance company is going to come to you, they're going to come to us, and they're going to say, why didn't you protect them? But the cyber insurance industry, actually, when I was at a conference in Phoenix just a couple of weeks ago, I actually had a cyber insurance expert on the stage with me, and he said his worry is that cybersecurity and cyber threats are going to be uninsurable sooner or later, only because of the rampantness of what's going on in the industry. What is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is the application of technologies, processes, and controls to protect electronic systems, networks, programs, devices, and data from malicious cyber attacks. That's also known as information technology security and electronic information security. It aims to reduce the risk of cyber attacks and protect against the unauthorized exploitation of systems, networks, and technologies. The term cybersecurity applies in a variety of contexts, from business to mobile computing. It can be divided into a few common categories. Why cybersecurity is important. Cyber attacks are increasingly sophisticated. Cyber attacks are evolving daily. The attackers use a ever-expanding variety of tactics and advanced tools. These include social engineering, malware, denial of service attacks, ransomware, all the terms I'm sure most of you are familiar with. Widely available hacking tools. There are folks that are creating hacking tools that make their job easier, and we'll get into why it's important for them to have those. Rising costs of cybersecurity breaches. Fines and lost business are just one aspect of the rising financial cost of cyber breaches. There are also expenses associated with containing the impact, disaster recovery, closing loopholes, acquiring new security systems, and preparing the organization's and repairing the organization's reputation. Cybersecurity is critical. It's a critical board level concern. So it's not something that should be just delegated to your IT person, in-house IT person, or somebody that doesn't have the expertise. This is something that the C-level folks need to be sitting down and talking about to make sure that they provide the necessary tools for your in-house staff or for folks like us that help protect you from the outside. Compliance issues, again, back to the regulations of such of compliance. You all have PCI compliance with credit cards. We all have heard of HIPAA. We've heard of all of these things, but you've got the general data protection regulation, which require organizations to deploy security measures to protect sensitive information. These are part of the laws that are out there and what they'll hold you accountable to. Failure to comply could lead to substantial fines and legal action. Some of those will take you to your knees, if not put you out of business. Cybercrime is a big business. Cyber attacks can have social, ethical, political motives. Nevertheless, the vast majority are driven by financial intentions. Cybercrime is a multi-billion-dollar industry, roughly 50 billion in the United States last year. That's a lot of money. The importance of cybersecurity. Eliminating threats. We need to eliminate the threats. Cybersecurity provides comprehensive digital protection to your business. This also allows employees to safely surf the internet when they need it, and ensure that they aren't at risk from threats. Safe work environment. With good security solutions in place, your employees can have a safe working environment with little downtime due to a cyber attack. Cyber attacks themselves. A cybersecurity risk assessment would assess your existing security infrastructure and then suggest powerful solutions to ensure that your network is secure from all kinds of cyber attacks. And then your data protection, ultimately, that's what it boils down to. Having robust firewalls, anti-malware solutions, and customized filters to ensure that your data is always safeguarded. Types of cybersecurity threats, and there's a lot of them. There's 10 of them listed here. We're going to hit the high points. we've heard a lot about malware, phishing, ransomware, the things that you typically hear about, but there's others, spear phishing, man in the middle, denial of service attacks, SQL. I mean, how many folks in here use an estimating program that has an SQL database? I would imagine most of you, right? So Microsoft and people that create the applications that you use, they discover vulnerabilities to those, and SQL has been one of the biggest ones around in the last few years. Types of cybersecurity threats in detail. Malware, we all know what that is. Malware attacks are the most common cybersecurity threats. Malware is defined as malicious software, including spyware, ransomware, viruses, worms, which get installed into the system when the user clicks a dangerous link or email. I mean, how many of you ever, been working and all of a sudden, boom, your browser says you've been hacked, and you call your IT person and you go, what's going on? What have I got? And it takes a few minutes for us even just to get in and take a look. And most of the time it's just a window that scares the heck out of you and provides a link that says, if you click this, we'll help you fix your problem. And, and when you do that, or a telephone number, and when you make that call and you talk to them, you're talking to somebody out of the Middle East or, with some terrorist organization that says, oh yeah, well, let me do this for you. And, then you instantly think, oh, well, they're fixing my problem. No, they're not. They're inducing more problems into your system. Phishing. How many people have ever gotten an email that just says, hey, it's Wells Fargo and your password's changed and you need to log in and change it? Or this is Netflix or Facebook or something. And same kind of thing comes up and you don't know, is this real or is it not real? And you worry, all right, well, something's wrong. And of course, if you're not a technical professional, then that has expertise in this field, it's gonna freak you out. You're gonna go start doing things. And as soon as you put in your email address and your password, chances are your password on your email is the same for everything else that you have. You just sent them the credentials to everything. You just opened up the front door to your house for these folks. Spear phishing. Spear phishing is a more sophisticated form of attack in which cyber criminals target only privileged users such as systems administrators and C-level executives. Because they're trying to get to the top of things. Denial, well, we'll go to the bottom. Man-in-the-middle attack, that occurs when the cyber criminal places themselves in the middle between two parties, like they get between emails or things like this, and they may be able to filter out and steal sensitive data from them. A denial of service attack, this is getting a little technical, I won't go into it too much, but what it does is a hacker can get in and and launch an application that could cause you to have so much traffic on your network that your internet's dragging like it was back in the phone days when you placed the phone on a modem. And you're like, what's going on? Why is the internet so slow? It can be a denial of service attack. That's more technical and more driven towards the devices that are used in your network center, where your server and your firewall and all that is. Your SQL injection, that's structured query language. It's created by Microsoft. There's many other folks that use it, and what that does is they inject an attack which occurs when cyber criminals attempt to access the database by uploading malicious SQL scripts, and then it allows them to take control of things and get information that you don't want. And where that would be important is if the competition or some reasonable facsimile thereof is trying to get information on you that you don't want them to have and steal your intellectual property. Zero-day exploits, another. Zero-day attack occurs when software or hardware vulnerability is announced, and the cyber criminals exploit the vulnerability before a patch or solution is implemented. This is where keeping your Windows, your Windows operating system and your applications that you have on your system updated, making sure that they're to the most recent update level, because those updates come out because of vulnerabilities that are found by hackers. Then Microsoft or whoever, Linux or Apple or whatever, they go in and they fix those, and then they provide that update so that that vulnerability is no longer a problem. Ransomware, we all know what that is, and we've seen a lot of companies that it's like, who was that company? Was it JBS, the food company last year? Paid $10 million. And they spent $3 million in their IT department to protect themselves, and they still got hacked. And what happened was that in that case, the hacker got into their system, launched ransomware, and when ransomware propagates through the room, it'd be like propagating through this room. We're all individual PCs, and I go to Corey and say, I tell her something, some secret, and then she goes around and tells everybody else. Well, of course, it's going to change by the time it gets around the room. So it propagates to every PC around, and it spreads throughout the network. It encrypts your files. And then what it'll also do is if you have a mapped network drive as your backup, let's say you have a B drive for backup, and it's just encrypted all of your local data, it's going to encrypt that B drive as well. And it encrypts your and puts ransomware on your backup files. So now you've lost everything that you work on a daily basis, and you lost your backups. So that's why it's also important to have an offsite backup like cloud. We'll also get into that. That's exactly what happened to them. They had no choice but to pay $10 million out of their pocket to fix that problem. That's a big chunk of change even for a company that size. A DNS attack, that's something, again, technically related to the hardware that you use and the types of processes that you have. A DNS attack is where cyber criminals exploit vulnerabilities in the domain name system. So like IECRM.org, that's a domain, okay? They can actually create attacks that attack that domain, and you could redirect. I mean, the website could be redirected. There's a lot of things associated with that. Again, not to get too technical. How many people know the difference between a breach and a compromise? Well, I do. 5 years ago, I didn't want to, didn't need to. But in the IT world, a breach occurs when someone gains access to your network, your computer, or your mobile device. That's a breach, okay? The compromise is when the bad guys steal your data and sell it on the black market, encrypt your data with ransomware, or hold you hostage, or utilize it for their own financial gain. Now in the military, they teach the special forces guys, the bottom of your foot or an explosive device causes the breach. I go in, I kick open the door, that's the breach. Just trying to give you a mind's eye. But the weapon that you have is the weapon you choose determines the outcome of the compromise. Same way in our industry. Somebody breaks into your network, what weapons do you have to mitigate that? What do you have to keep them from getting farther than they're supposed to, or causing more damage than they need to? Again, it defines the whole outcome of the compromise. This is the approach that we take at IECRM, that we take by providing you the managed IT services and the weapons that you need to protect your network, customer personal data, and intellectual property. Cyber threat actors. Who are the players in this game? Nation states. Russia hacking the US, China hacking US, the US hacking somebody else, right? That's nation states. Then you got your criminal groups. You've got those that aim to infiltrate systems or networks for financial gain. These groups use phishing, spam, spyware, malware, all of those things, and online fraud, and to extort money from you. Then there's your hackers. Hackers explore various various cyber criminal techniques to breach defenses, to exploit vulnerabilities in a computer system or network. Like I was talking about a while ago with Microsoft Windows. They're motivated by personal gain, revenge, stalking, all of those things. Then you got your terrorist group. That's the largest, they comprise the largest number of people that are after what you have. Why is that? You got Al-Qaeda, you got the Taliban, you got people like that that are some of the largest cyber criminals in the world. And they do it because they're trying to raise money for their organization. That $10 million that JBS sent to probably went to those guys as well. So now they got $10 million more to make our lives miserable. Then you've got hacktivists. That's an interesting term. That's a new term, actually. They carry out cyber attacks in support of political causes rather than for financial gain. You know, those tend to be folks that are trying to control an election or trying to control an outcome of something. It's not really malicious and destructive like the terrorist group and the hackers that are trying to gain financial gain from that. But it is just a terrible thing. Malicious insiders. Insiders can include employees, third-party vendors, contractors, or other businesses associates who have legitimate access to enterprise assets, but misuse their access to steal or destroy intellectual property for financial or personal gain. Then you got your corporate spies. Obviously, corporate spies conduct industrial and business espionage to take and to make a profit or disrupt a competitor's business by attacking your business. And that's pretty much who the players are. Interesting fact, majority of black hat hackers, which is what we call them in our industry, are part of terrorist groups that fund their dastardly deeds. The rest are comprised mostly of people that have been playing with computers in their parents' basement since they were 5 years old. And they decide that they want to be a hacker, or that they want to, they're just for fun. Most of these guys and gals, and they're not always little kids. I mean, that they grow into big kids, but they always remain kids. That's why their mindset is that driven that way. But again, it's for maliciousness, just to see if they can do it, see what they can compromise, Types of cybersecurity. Network security, we talked about that. What kind of hardware do you have? What kind of firewall do you have? How is it set up? Those types of things. That keeps the bad guys out of your network. Application security involves protecting your software. What kind of software do you use? What vulnerabilities does it have? Those types of things. Cloud security. That involves protecting the information stored in the digital environment or cloud architecture for the organization. Now, you might think, well, the information that we have or that we collect, it's on the cloud. You're still responsible for it. It doesn't matter where it's located. You have to be the good steward of that. And that's what the laws that are out there that preempt the fines and other things that could put you out of business. That's why it's important to understand that. It does not have to be on your property for you to be or be required to be a good steward of that. Data security, that involves implementing a strong data storage mechanism to maintain the integrity and privacy of data, both in storage and in transit. Mobile security, obviously, our phones are not protected like our networks are. We go into other people's Wi-Fi's. If they have a virus, we tie into that and it's propagating, it'll propagate to your phone. And most of the time you won't see it in a way that, oh, everything just goes crazy. My phone's not working. While it's stealing all of your contacts and intellectual data that you have in your phone. Those are the things, and you'll never know that happens because these are wide open. And there are ways to protect yourself with these, and we'll talk about those. Operational security. It involves processing and making decisions and handling and securing data assets. Again, that's where your C-level folks got to be part of it. Identity management deals with the procedure for determining the level of access and that each individual has within an organization. Disaster recovery and business continuity planning. This is important because we have that here at the IEC, where if their server goes down, hard down, or it gets compromised in some way, we have a unit that's in the server room that within minutes, not hours, not days, they can call and say, we can't get to our shared drive. Why is that? We get in, we find out the server's got a mechanical problem. We roll our trucks to get the guys on the way here to get it fixed. But in the meantime, we need to get them going. In literally minutes, we can set up a virtual server that their server gets imaged every day in its entirety, and then every hour incrementally. So it will allow us to have them running very, very rapidly. It would also provide, what if we lose this building due to a tornado or fire or whatever you can imagine? It provides that same type of thing. It will take you longer to find a new home for yourself and a place to set up new computers than it will be for us to spin up a virtual session on a server that's stored off-site and have you running very, very rapidly. Again, because in this industry, in construction trades industry, you're doing quotes and things that have to be, that are time sensitive, that have to be out, and you will lose it. You can't call them and say, oh, hey man, I got hacked today. They're gonna be like, well, tough for you, but it closes at noon and it's 11 o'clock. You'll lose that job. And then of course, ultimately user education. It deals with the processes, monitoring, alerts, and plans to how an organization responds when a malicious activity is causing the loss of operations or data. The weakest link in your organization, the weakest link in all of this is your team. And right here, 3 pillars of cybersecurity. Your weakest link is your team. There's always somebody that's going to fall for that phishing message, that's going to do something because they didn't know anything better to do. Cyber hygiene, training and awareness, professional skills and qualifications, written procedures, authorization control, physical security. Those are all people related. Those are the things that in-house you need to make sure you prepare your folks for. Antivirus, and from a technical standpoint, antivirus, firewalls, intrusion detection systems, which come in the form of firewall, internal firewall software, but there's other systems and software that help mitigate that. Software updates and patches, again, going back to Windows and iOS and making sure your vulnerabilities are patched. Testing, cybersecurity risk assessment, which we perform on networks to find out what your vulnerabilities are. Are your passwords on the web, on the dark web, it's called? I don't like that term, but for lack of a better one, that's what it is. And then are your emails on there? How many have ever gotten into Google and you use Google to synchronize things, and it says, oh, this password is, on the dark web, and you need to check your passwords, you need to change them. That's that type of thing. Vulnerability scanning and penetration tests. Bless you. And then the process management systems, policies, procedures, handling of vendor, third parties. How do you handle them? How do you interact with them? We had a customer in Texas, electrical contractor, that they weren't a customer before. They came to us when this happened. And one of their guys in estimating had set up a Dropbox because he thought, he used it at home, thought this was the best thing, sets it up on his local machine, sets it up for one of the vendors. The vendor gets a virus, sends a file into the Dropbox. He loads it on his system and boom, they're down like that. CEO didn't know about it. IT director didn't know about it. Nobody knew about it, but the guy that created it, thinking it was such a great asset and a way to communicate with his vendor, and it took the network down. State and federal governance and compliance regulations, and those things alone are why we have to be on top of this. Cybersecurity versus information security. Cybersecurity is the practice of shielding the data of the internet, on the internet, from outside of the resource. It's about the capacity to protect the use of cyberspace against cyber attacks. And cybersecurity identifies cyberspace threats. Cybersecurity is combating cybercrime, and cybersecurity is securing everything in your cyber domain that you have. Information security is about the items that are secured and securing data that are within your organization. It deals with data security from some type of threat. The information security strives against unauthorized entry, altering and undermining access. The security of information deals with the data protection from some sort of attack, and information security is for records regardless of the domain, in-house or outside. Cybersecurity versus information security versus computer security. Again, I don't want to get too deep in all this because I know you're not going to retain a lot of these things, but it's just to try to touch on those things. So when you read through some of the slides, you'll go, oh yeah, I remember that. So you have computer security, cybersecurity, and information security. Computer security, devices that are not connected to the internet, to cyberspace, we don't care. They're not going to get hacked because the only door you have to the outside is the internet. But then you also have cybersecurity, devices in cyberspace, which also is computer security. They overlap, and you can see the overlapping areas with devices in cyberspace. And then things other than information, that's cybersecurity, but they also are digital. And then there's non-digital information. Those, the two ends on the far right and far left, we don't have to worry about. It's the one in the middle, and that's why they overlap. And lastly, cybersecurity versus network security. Cybersecurity is a subset of information security. We went through those items. It is a practice of protecting internet connected systems and networks from digital attacks. It protects the organization from all kinds of digital attacks from the cyber realm. It's about network protection, applications, up-to-date information, and it comes under cybersecurity. But over to network security is a subset of cybersecurity, but it's driven more towards in-house. What type of hardware do we use that keeps the bad guys out and doesn't allow them to come in? But there's one weak link there, and that's the team, one team member that gets a phishing message, and that can severely affect the network security. All right, cybersecurity compliance. This is the most important reason and why you've got to take this seriously. And I went through the top 6. They don't all apply in this case, but I just wanted you to understand the compliance issue. You got PCI compliance. We get a form every year about our credit card company. Says, fill this form out. They ask a bunch of questions. I usually send it over to IT guys like us that say, fill this out for me, because we don't understand all the details and understand what the questions they're asking. Then you got ISO 27001 and 27002, International Organization of Standardization. It's a best practice recommendations for information security management and information security program elements. Those are the things that have been around a long time. And then you came out with, they came out with CIS. They have a recommended set of actions for cyber defense that provide specific and actionable ways to stop today's most pervasive and dangerous attacks. Now we get to the last 3. Those are the most important and apply to almost everyone. And then you have the NIST, and that's the National Institute of Standards and Technology at the U.S. Department of Commerce. Well, if it says U.S. Department of anything, then you should be worried about it, right? A framework for improving critical infrastructure, cybersecurity, with a goal to improve organizations' readiness for managing cybersecurity risk by leveraging standard methodologies and processes. This is just simply a set of suggestions and rules that they have to make sure you follow, kind of a manual for good stewardship, I guess. And of course, we've all heard about HIPAA. I won't have to explain that too much. We've all been explained too many times. And then now recently, last month, actually, FTC safeguards rule comes out. Now that applies to a lot of industries, and they name them specifically. And if you are not aware of those, look up FTC safeguards, the FTC safeguards rule, and look to see if it mentions what industries it mentions specifically that might be towards you. But that puts it in a little bit more of a, if you don't do this, it's going to cost you this. And not just cost you data, it costs you money because of the fines and other things. I'm going to cover the NIST cybersecurity framework because that's what is the general set of parameters are for that. Start by listing all your equipment, software vendors, data you use, create a district cybersecurity handbook and update school board policies. I mean, if you're a school, concerning employee and student records, you have a protect function. These steps, they take steps to track traffic, encrypt sensitive data, update software regularly, change passwords, and so forth. And then the detect function, how do you detect it? Monitor computers and use the web for unauthorized or authorized access to identify an unusual activity. Most firewalls that you have in your systems will give you analytics that give you information in regards to that. Your respond function, how am I going to respond to this? What happens if something happens? And then the recover function. This is the one that's the most painful because after the incident, you have to repair any equipment that was affected. You have to keep everyone involved up to date with your response and your recovery actions. But then you realize how much it costs you. Here's a perfect example. There was a company that got that we're very familiar with that one of the accounting gals got a phishing message. very diligent. This would have been the last person I would have ever suspected that this would have been an issue or she would have gotten caught with this. She gets this phishing message and it's an email and it says from a vendor saying, hey, we understand that you're going to be paying our invoice, $176,000 invoice this week, but our bank account's changed. And this is our routing information, our ACH information, all the things you need to transfer that $176,000 to us. And it even had a copy of the invoice. Exactly. Those eyes said it all right there. It's like, how the heck did that happen? Well, let me tell you why. That happens exactly like this. If you go to that Netflix message, phishing message, or you go to that Wells Fargo or Chase or whatever, your water department, and you log in with an ID and a password, chances are better than 90% that email address and password that you used, that password is the password to your email. So now all they have to do is go, now I've got this information. I'm gonna go to office.com, log in with Office 365 or Outlook. I'm gonna log into their email. I'm going to browse their email for weeks or months, and I'm going to find vulnerabilities. And what they do, they browse this person's email for months and found this vendor that owed them, that they owed this much money to, and created an email from that person with that information. So it was authentic. And it looked as though it came from that vendor. And when they saw the invoice, who would have questioned that? Who would have read past that? They would have said, oh, no, that's authentic. And they did. And they said $176,000 to somebody. Now they were lucky because their cyber insurance paid about everything but about $8,000, okay, which was very, very, very rare. Most cyber insurances would have paid less than 50 grand on that, and you'd been paying the rest of it. So that just goes to show you. Then now that your data's not secure and you've had a breach, now you've got to report it to state and federal authorities. That's a law. If you don't do that, you can go to jail for that. That's a new law, by the way. Yeah, so the government and state and local governments and all the political action committees are saying, look, we're tired of this. We need to make sure somebody's responsible for this, and you just can't be negligent or do due diligence to make sure you're protecting the information. You're bound by law to do that. So the fines alone would take you to your knees, more than likely put you out of business. Then the cost of that. Now, here's an example. Let's say you get 10 records in the state of Colorado, you get 10 records compromised. But let's say you have 1,000 customers and you've got what state and local authorities say, okay, we've been compromised, and now the rules and the recovery from this is you've got to offer services to all 1,000 customers, even though 1,000 records may not have been breached. So now you've got to go to 1,000 customers and send those little cards that I'm sure you've gotten in the mail before from someone like Equifax or T-Mobile that said, sorry, your data's been hacked. Oh, by the way, the IRS was hacked 4 years ago, 144 million records. So they're not even vulnerable. I'm not even impenetrable for that. They're very vulnerable. And now you've got to send out 1,000 cards to your customers saying, okay, we're going to offer you credit repair services, identity theft services, and all this to 1,000 customers. Now, the average monthly cost of that service is between $16 and $25 a month times 1,000. That's for the ones that opt in. So now the card says you have to fill this out and send it back, and then we'll consider you opted into this program, and we'll provide those services to you and send you a link so that you know how to get to those services. But let's say only 500 of those people opt in for that service. Now you've got up to $25 a month times 500 customers per month that you have to pay for out of your pocket, or the regulatory compliance agencies will shut your doors and say, you're no longer in business. But that's where you have to be good stewards and where they hold you responsible for that. So you can see by the numbers how prolific of an outcome that can be to your business and the costs associated with it. And that's just scratching the surface, folks. There's a lot more to it than that. The top cybersecurity challenges, we pretty much touched on all these ransomware attacks, cloud service attacks, blockchain and cryptocurrency. You know, with crypto being big now, you've got all the wallets, the crypto wallets and all this type of thing. And I personally know people that have lost tens of thousands of dollars in that process. Supply chain attacks, that could be from one of your vendors that winds up getting something that you wind up catching it. Smart phones, malware attacks, you know, Internet of Things, basically anything that's tied to the internet, machine learning and AI attacks, you know, phishing and insider attacks. We just covered the phishing one, software vulnerabilities, and bring your own device threats. BYOD right there. I brought my own device. Outdated hardware threats. Are you still running Windows XP? Are you running Windows 7? Equifax got hacked because of a Windows XP computer that had been run that they thought would never get hacked. It did one stupid little thing, and XP had vulnerabilities out the wazoo, and somebody got a hold of it and destroyed their network. What's the impact of cybercrime and attacks? Well, economic costs, obviously, we just covered that. It will be very expensive. Not not just the fines, the things I just brought up to you. Reputational costs. Well, I can't trust them. I don't want them to have my information. They just got hacked. I mean, how many people feel, you know, good about having T-Mobile or Equifax or even IRS at that point? Because IRS collects more financial data on you than almost anyone does. And they get compromised. So why should I trust them? And then regulatory costs. You know, what it's going to cost you in fines and sanctions will be crippling. Now we get down to cybersecurity best practices and how to protect from cyber threats. Well, first of all, you need to create an insider threat program. So again, those are folks that are in-house, and you need to make sure you're protected. You need to train your employees. Here's what a phishing message is. Here's how you can be suspect of it, how you need to react to it, who you need to talk to if you have a suspicious email. Corey's very good at this. She sent me one this morning, actually, sent our help desk one this morning saying, hey guys, here's what I got. Maintain compliance. Make sure you maintain compliance, because if you don't and you do get compromised, if you're a good steward of the data, and like I said, nobody's 100% bulletproof. And if you, and again, there's them that have been and then that will be. So prepare for it. And if you maintain good compliance, it's like with anything, you're a good steward of it. I did everything I needed to do to make sure that we were good stewards. We weren't careless and reckless with the data. Then it's going to be far less of an impact on your business. Build a cyber incident response plan. Know what needs to be done. It's like having a fire extinguisher and knowing how to use it. Regularly update your systems and your software. That's why folks like IEC pay us to maintain. We're a police department for you. We're not a fire department. People call the fire department when their house is on fire. And I used to be a firefighter and a paramedic many, many years ago, and as a volunteer in our town that I grew up in for 14 years. And I can tell you that by the time we got to the fire, it was just trying to keep the neighbors' houses from burning. And we were protecting other people's assets because it was usually a total loss because fire goes that rapidly. So again, making sure that you have somebody that regularly looks at your network, that is constantly maintaining and monitoring it and getting analytics and information on it. Because again, if you put a human element in anything, it's going to fail you in anything. Make sure your data is backed up and implement a disaster recovery plan. There's other ways of doing this: local backups, offsite backups, and then disaster recovery, where we have a device like we have in here that we can spin up a server instance and get them back and running if their server goes down. Initiate phishing simulations, which we do when we do cybersecurity risk assessments. We do a cybersecurity risk assessment of your domain, of your internal computers, of your network, and we find out its vulnerabilities. And then we also do phishing email examples. So we'll send them to your staff. If you have 100 people, we'll send out emails on different times. We don't let them know that they're coming. We find out if they fall for them. It gives us information that they put in, tells us how long they were there, what link they clicked on. It gives us information, and then it gives us a grade that we can come back to you and say, hey guys, here's your grade. And you think F is the worst grade you can get in school? No, it's not. It's seen worse. So those are things, and phishing is one of your biggest problems right now. And then making sure your website is HTTPS compliant, which is SSL compliant. You get a security certificate from your domain provider, and you'll see where, like when you put in Google, it says HTTPS:// www.google.com. That HTTPS makes sure that that data is encrypted between you and them, so that somebody outside couldn't just hack into that connection and then pull the data that you're sending across. How to reduce the risk of cyber attacks? Reduce your data transfer. Keep sensitive data on personal devices and local devices. Download carefully. Verify your sources and avoid unnecessary downloads. Improve your password. This is probably equally as important as training your people, in that you use special strings, upper, lowercase, numbers, special characters, and so forth. But more importantly, multi-factor authentication. What is that? That's where you set it up so you have to have 2 steps. I'm sure all the banks have done it, and most large companies have done it. They set it up so that when you log in, it says, well, I'm going to send you a code, make sure you send that code back to me. If there were computers that were generating these attacks, and with artificial intelligence now, that's what you're going to see more of. There won't be some little, some of your kids have been playing with a computer in his parents' basement since he was 5 years old. Now he's 25 years old, decides he wants to be a terrorist. It's not going to be that guy. It's going to be the guy that creates artificial intelligence that does this for them without any human interaction. Update your software, like we talked about. Monitor for data and leaks. Monitor your data for leaks. Quickly detect, respond, and stop all activity with software. Develop a breach response plan. What happens when it happens? Because it's going to happen. Almost done. Cybersecurity checklist. Install it. Make sure you have the latest anti-malware, antivirus protection. Stay up to date with the device on software updates. Change your default credentials, and on and on and on. Multi-factor authentication, or 2-factor authentication it's referred to. Use a password manager. Be cautious with freeware. Nothing's free. Not even freeware. Something comes with it. Avoid phishing emails and bad links. Use search engines to find websites. Your business is unique, and your security solution has to be as well. There's not 2 people in here that'll have the same solution, because we have different applications, we have different hardware, we have different network requirements. So cyber and network security is not a do-it-yourself project. Don't even try it. You will fail, I promise you. And you can go hire somebody right out of college, which that's a waste for the IT industry, because they're studying out of books that are 5 to 10 years old. So they come in and I've got to retrain them on everything. So I either pick them out of STEM programs in high school where they study more up to date, or I get them out of technical colleges, or people that have got lots of experience that understand that. Again, you need an IT service and security partner that will be a police department for you and not a fire department. Because if you wait until something breaks, it's too late, and particularly in this industry. And usually you won't find out about that for months prior or months after you've been compromised. We're an authority on this because we've been working for a long, long time in this industry. Cybersecurity hasn't been a problem for that long, but for the last 10 years, it's been the biggest problem we encounter. And thanks for your time today, folks. And we'll open it up for some questions and answers. And we'll, so fire away. Anything you have specific?
I know there's questions. We've all had something mysterious show up. Rick, I got a text message this morning that says your Amazon account has been locked. A text message to me. And funny enough, I use the IECRM Amazon account, which doesn't have my cell phone number in it. And I use my husband's Amazon account, which doesn't have my cell number in it. Yet my Amazon account is locked. So clearly not intended for me. But there's a nice little link for me to click on, should I so choose to take on that adventure. And that that's not something I'm going to do.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things too, Marilyn, about that is I got one, and Ben will attest to this. I got one a couple weeks ago, and this looks so real. I even went to my wife. I said, honey, what'd you buy for $987? Amazon said, I just spent $987 on something to pay with PayPal. And I'm like, no, I didn't. Going to my wife said, honey, what'd you buy for $987? Because Amazon just said you bought, somebody bought something. Asked Ben, because we have a corporate Amazon account. And of course it wasn't. And of course, the first thing you see that is like boom, instantly it's shock, right? And it's what do you do when you're shocked? You react. You react.
Well, what's funny as well is, they get more advanced with this stuff. They'll contact you more than just one way as well. They'll shoot you a text, they'll call you, they'll send you an email. You might get, two different points of contact about the same thing, but it's still be phishing. So, the diligence is real, the due diligence is really on y'all to make sure that, you look down every avenue before you just start clicking on stuff, because it's too late once you've already done that.
Yeah, because what happens is, what do you log in with Amazon with? Your email address. What do you log in? What's your password? Password's probably the only password you have. And it's the key to everything you've got. Your email account, which is the largest intellectual property that you have in business these days. And then what do? They go, okay, well, there's the domain. It's hosted on Microsoft. Let me just go to office.com, log in. Now I have access to everything that you have access to. Then they create a phishing email campaign somewhere down the road, and they snag you, just like they did that gal that should have never gotten snagged, because that's the last person on earth I would have thought would have ever fallen for something like that. But when it has an invoice attached to it from the vendor, your brain stops reacting and starts acting. And then you dig yourself a hole that you jumped into.
So Rick, I actually don't have the same password.
Good.
But that leads to my question of, I have, 9,000 passwords
Absolutely.
now. So what's the recommendation for how you keep up with all of your passwords?
Great
Are
question.
these password libraries safe?
Yes and no. Okay.
So anything's better than an Excel sheet.
Absolutely.
If you're
Absolutely.
using an Excel sheet, stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, get help.
Well, and the thing is, look, I mean, I'm not looking at a bunch of 20-year-old, 25-year-old faces in here. Okay. When you get to be our age, the mind goes, what did I just eat for lunch? So you don't remember. So having numerous passwords is more aggravating. So then what do? We go, oh, well, Google says, well, cache it. Put it in cache credentials. Save that password. Great. Works perfect. I've been guilty of that too. But let me tell you what, I don't do it anymore, but and I'll tell you why, because what happens is if you got a malware on your computer that they just waited to get into at 3 a.m. in the morning, because you leave your computer running all night. I do too. That's okay. It doesn't hurt. It actually works better because it's constant temperature all the time. Anyway, and they get into your computer and then they go Google, they go Wells Fargo. Oh, look, it's Rick Race. Bam. Oh, it's cache. Password's cached. Bam. I'm in that account right away. And now I'm just going to send myself all that money he's got in his account. Cache passwords will bury you quicker than anything. But again, these brains don't think like they did when we were that high, thinner and prettier, they just don't. So we want to have the path of least resistance, and that will bury you. And again, it's like, okay, no problem. You want to do that? I tell people, look, I just understand to be able to mitigate the outcome, because there will be one. And that in itself winds up being a humongous problem for people. Again, and hackers not going to get you at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They're going to get you at 3 a.m. in the morning when you're sleeping, and then they play with your computer for hours.
Well, yeah, and another way to combat that is instead of having your two-factor be linked to say your email. So it'll send you your 6-digit code to your email for you to be able to log into that account. Use authenticator apps where you pretty much scan a QR code and then it's a revolving like 60-second timer, and it refreshes that code over and over again. So you physically have to have that device in hand to be able to access it. So even if you are caching it online, say someone gets into your computer overnight while you're sleeping, well, they're not going to have your phone.
Exactly.
So they're not going to be able to get past that. They may have a password, but they don't have the second factor, the two-factor.
Further answer that question though, Marilyn, password programs are good. The one that I probably would have recommended 10 days ago was LastPass. But 9 days ago, they got compromised. So, again, 6 to 1, half a dozen to another. I mean, there's really no hard and, it's always a why in the road. What do I go this way or do I go this way? There are sometimes there's wrongs and rights, but most of the time, yeah, this is right, but this is right too. And it's just preference, of what you like to have. But again, you just got to be prepared for the outcome because it's going to happen. And that's why I say the password program like LastPass, great program, but they get compromised and now what their reputation's ruined, right? Because they just got compromised. Well, they're going to go spend a lot of money, but it's like, okay, you shot me in the foot while we were hunting. I'm not going to go hunting with you anymore. I don't care whether you keep your gun in the truck and you're just walking beside me because you're dangerous, right? So same kind of mindset, there's really no right and wrong, but you just got to pick something.
Yeah, my recommended alternative would be OnePass. If you have, your kids' devices on your same cell phone plan or so on and so forth, or they have their own tablet or laptop, right? You can have it set up for, you can manage yours and your family's passwords as well. So you can keep track of their stuff and yours.
What questions does the audience have? Challenges that you're concerned about?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you're on LastPass, what would you do now?
So change your LastPass password.
Yeah.
Right? And then, breaches happen. I don't want to say that there's not due to negligence because I don't really know the, full details of it, but if you use them, I wouldn't be so quick to jump off that ship. I mean, there are alternatives out there, but I know that LastPass is going to be stepping up their security to a whole nother level after, that just to rebuild their reputation. So I doubt there's going to be another breach.
Well, and then multi-functional, multi-factor authentication, two-factor authentication, very important. However, there's some downfalls to that too. You think, okay, well, that's bulletproof. I've got a phone that's going to send me a code, right? Well, they don't have the phone. Well, there's a lot of portals that you can get into that says, well, we're going to send this code to your phone. Well, great, you're protected because I've got the phone. Hacker doesn't have the phone. But then there's also, I don't have access to my phone right now. And it says, okay, well, we'll send it to your email address. Well, now the same folks that are in your computer that are trying to get into a cached password are going to go over to your email, just open it up, and they just send it to your email. They're going to have the code and they're going to get in. So again, there's nothing 100% bulletproof. You see what I'm saying? And things are just getting worse and more threatening every day. And with artificial intelligence now, yeah.
If any of you have not yet read our monthly news, I used artificial intelligence, the ChatGPT program. I interviewed ChatGPT about the electric industry. So if we don't think it's replacing things,
Absolutely.
read the answer.
Oh, I saw a video last night. It was Harrison Ford on top today, what he looks like, old gray like me. And then the guy on the bottom, which was Harrison Ford when he was Han Solo. And it was a mirror image of him now and of him when he was younger with the exact same face, no wrinkles, mouth moving, talking. Audio was both the same. And it was created with artificial intelligence. You can go to ChatGPT and other things and say, create me a photo of a frog in a fishbowl, and it'll create you one that'll blow your mind. Artists couldn't probably draw it for you that good. Yeah.
So, new things to navigate in ways
Absolutely.
that are going to be positive for us and ways that are going to continue to challenge us.
Yeah, and all I can say, guys and gals, about this is don't try to do it yourself. You'll be a miserable failure at it. Stay in your core competency. And you could go hire somebody and bring them on staff, have a full-time employee with all the matches and benefits you got to pay, and they're going to have this much knowledge. They're going to know what lane they've driven in, and this is the knowledge that they're going to have. And wherever they go, they lose their peripheral vision. We've been in business for 41 years. We see things every day that those folks will not see because you don't have those things happen to you. And unless they're 50 years old and they've worked for 15 or 20 companies, they're not going to have the experience to do that. Put the trust of your network and your data in the hands of people that will protect you and have an omni view of things, okay? And you will have a better chance of being successful in protecting that and protecting your business. I told a guy the other day, he says, so you you'll protect our data. I said, no, I'm going to protect your bank account, because that's really what it's going to boil down to. How much it's going to cost you to get out of it, the fines to recover from the reputation and all of the other things that it's going to do. You can see how this could be a life-threatening problem for your business. Yes, Terry.
Yeah, my question is, why do they never get caught?
Well, yes, some
Would
do.
there be a program that can be created to catch you?
There are, with artificial intelligence, it's going to give us more weapons to be able to fight those things. So yes, are we there yet? No, because the industry is behind the hackers, behind the black market, behind the, the dark web, whatever you want to call it. The industry's behind, and the reason why is because they're reacting to a situation and having to create something for that. These other folks are creating the things that they're trying to get into, right? People put bars on the windows. Well, great, somebody made a saw and they just cut the bars off, right? I mean, again, it's this proliferation of constant change. And I would say, we're making great strides, but we're not there. And I can honestly say, I don't see in the near future, and near being the next 3 to 5 years, where I could tell you you're 100% bulletproof. I just don't, and I don't really know where that would ever be. Because again, bulletproof vest, better bullet. Sorry to make the gun analogy, but it'll be that much of an impact on you. It's life-threatening.
Well, I think about, crime of opportunity. If you put up enough barrier that they just go to the next, that's really maybe all you can.
Yeah.
In some ways, all you can really hope for. Rick and Ben and his team have been amazing to us over the years in the protections that they've provided and the resources that they've been able to provide to our members. So I really appreciate you sharing this knowledge today and putting forward facing, the risk and liability to your businesses and to your organizations for not having the right protections in place as these local and federal laws continue to evolve and change to address issues, but then it comes back, on making sure that we're making the right decisions and running our business. So Rick and Ben, thank you very much. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks, guys.
There's
Appreciate
more
it.
food, so if all of this worked up another round of appetite, please feel free to have seconds. Katie, Chove, and Lexi have some materials about continuing education and our events. So please make sure you take a flyer with you before you go. But stick around, enjoy the candy, the Smarties and the chocolate, and I didn't kick this off by saying IECRM loves its members, but we love our members, and we really appreciate all that you do for us and for the industry.
Thank you, Marilyn. And I've got business cards on the table. This was not a sales pitch, folks. This was an education, okay? I don't care who you work with, just get somebody that you can trust. If you have any questions, yeah, please call.
They want to, ask us for recommendations, so on and so forth. Feel free to come over.
Absolutely, and it's on our dime. We will not charge you. If you call us and talk to us, we're glad to talk to you. Don't charge you a dime. We just want to make sure that you're taken care of. Because if we help you, it's going to help other folks, and it comes around. Circle a lot, So thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a great. It's not like you're not a house. Yes, but that's not so much.